The polar bear glides across hard snow, cutting off the prey's escape routes. When it encounters others of its own kind, food and space are enough to spark confrontation. The closer it moves toward the water's edge, the greater the pressure, as a single misstep can shift the balance. What shapes one of the Arctic's most formidable predators? On the Arctic shoreline, a herd of walruses forms a defensive ring. An adult male can weigh around 3,700 pounds, with tusks reaching nearly 3 feet in length. These tusks help them maintain distance from any threat. Facing that scale, the polar bear understands that raw strength alone is not the answer. It remains on the outer edge instead of moving into the center. With each shift in the group, the bear reads direction, spacing between individuals and the position of the young. Every choice considers energy, risk, and timing. A rushed decision can close the opportunity entirely. As the herd begins to move closer to the water's edge, the pace suddenly rises. The polar bear steps in to test the group's response. Massive bodies shift direction, disrupting the formation and creating brief openings along the edge. In those moments, younger individuals may drift away from the protective circle, allowing a narrow chance for the bear to approach. However, adult walruses can quickly close ranks, forming a solid barrier with their tusks. At that point, the polar bear steps back, as its opportunity is already very limited. As sea ice retreats and time on land grows longer, the polar bear is forced inland, facing a completely different challenge across the open tundra. Here, one of its most energy-rich targets is the caribou. An adult weighs around 400 pounds, much lighter than the bear, yet equipped with strong endurance and bursts of speed, reaching about 50 miles per hour. Because of that, the bear's approach relies on extreme caution, using wind direction to reduce its scent. The clearest opportunity often comes when herds cross shallow channels, where younger individuals move slightly slower than the group. That is when the bear shifts from tracking to direct pressure, accelerating to create a brief disruption that breaks the formation within seconds. Moments later, the hunter drives a full-grown target into cold, deeper water. In that environment, the caribou's speed advantage fades against the bear's powerful swimming reach, moving like broad paddles. The distance closes gradually. Each time the caribou lifts its head for air, its rhythm falters slightly. The encounter ends as the bear pulls a heavy prize from the water's edge, securing vital energy. Across wind-swept corridors of ice, an encounter between Arctic wolves and a polar bear does not begin with a direct clash. It starts with a cold assessment, where even the smallest movement can shift the balance. The wolf pack quietly spreads out across the snow, reading the wind and maintaining a safe distance from the massive figure. An adult weighs only around 120 pounds, so the group relies on discipline rather than individual strength. Tension builds as a few move closer to test the response, waiting for signs of fatigue to appear. In the end, the bear makes a measured decision to leave, allowing the remaining energy to go to those willing to wait. In the harsh ice desert, both sides establish an invisible line of compromise to conserve energy, where the one that endures is always the one that understands how to manage risk. The Arctic, a realm of ice, is home to 6 species of seals. Among them, ringed seals and bearded seals are key food sources for the polar bear. Facing a predator that can weigh around 1,000 pounds, seals still rely on streamlined bodies and highly responsive reflexes in the water. In this world, every small advantage can shape survival. Ambushes often unfold at breathing holes in the thick ice. The polar bear uses its acute sense of smell, standing motionless for hours like a sculpture carved from ice. When a seal surfaces for air, the pace shifts instantly. The bear uses position, weight, and surprise to gain an edge, leaving little time for the target to change direction. When seals climb onto drifting ice to rest or absorb sunlight, the polar bear shifts its approach. It slips beneath the freezing water, revealing only the tip of its nose to observe and breathe. As the distance closes to just a few feet, the powerful body surges upward from below. The seal reacts at once, turning toward deeper water and relying on swimming speed to find an escape route. But even a brief lapse in awareness can shift the balance. This frozen exchange ends with a demanding level of hunting efficiency. In many situations, an adult polar bear succeeds less than 10% of the time. That reality forces the Arctic predator to observe carefully, conserve energy, and rely on strategy to maintain its position. The beluga whale is one of the most recognizable residents of the Arctic seas. An adult can weigh over 3,000 pounds, with almost no dorsal fin, allowing it to move easily beneath layers of sea ice. A layer of blubber about 4 inches thick helps retain heat in freezing waters. Yet even these adaptations do not fully remove the risk when a polar bear appears. In summer, as sea ice shrinks and access to seals becomes more limited, the polar bear may shift its attention to beluga pods, moving into shallow waters. It waits on low coastal rocks, observing the group's swimming patterns. Only when a younger individual drifts out of formation does the pace increase. The bear moves off the rocks, using the short distance to narrow the escape route. Even so, most belugas maintain the advantage in the water. The situation changes completely in winter, when fast-forming ice can trap the pod. A small opening in the ice, sometimes just a few feet wide, becomes the only breathing point, as they can hold their breath for about 30 minutes. The polar bear follows these signs, waiting patiently at the ice edge and closing in the moment a whale surfaces. The Arctic then returns to its natural stillness. At the top of this world, survival depends not only on strength, but on the ability to adapt through strategy under the harsh rules of energy in nature. Solitude has long been a survival shield for polar bears. However, as sea ice melts rapidly and resources decline, the boundary of coexistence begins to break down. Encounters between individuals now become intense tests of instinct. This is when they are forced into direct confrontation. The greatest threat emerges when a massive male, weighing around 1,200 pounds, actively pursues cubs. To protect the next generation, the mother quickly guides them into rugged ice terrain for cover. Through firm warning calls and a steady stance, she maintains distance with determination. The intruder is often forced to withdraw and wait for another chance. Around large food sources washed ashore, a temporary order takes shape. Dominant males take the most favorable positions, while younger bears observe from the outer edge. An upright posture, deep vocal signals, and short forward steps send clear messages. Most encounters end when one side yields space, avoiding unnecessary energy loss. During the breeding season, competition between males becomes more evident. They use their forelimbs, shoulder strength, and body weight to test one another in brief encounters. The goal is to establish advantage, not to prolong the clash. When one recognizes the shift in balance, it leaves the contested ice. Because knowing when to stop at the right moment is the highest form of intelligence. As summer pushes sea ice farther away, the polar bear lowers its expectations to smaller energy sources to stay alive. Along rocky coastal islands, it moves slowly, following warm air currents to locate exposed eggs and unattended chicks. These are brief opportunities before entire bird colonies take flight and leave their nesting grounds. Farther out, in shallow river mouths only a few feet deep, Arctic char begin moving upstream through narrow channels. The polar bear stands still in the current, focused on the water's surface until a flicker appears near its feet. In a single motion, a precise sweep of its powerful forelimb secures the fish before it can slip away. Yet eggs and fish cannot replace seals, a food source that can provide over 100,000 calories. These smaller opportunities serve only as a holding strategy, helping maintain strength through a season of scarcity. Then, when winter returns and sea ice forms again, the journey continues across the Arctic alongside the next generation. A strategy is set in motion as the pod of orcas begins to tighten its formation. Orcas do not approach their target through chaos, but through near-perfect coordination. They divide roles, apply pressure, and create a trap within the open ocean. Even other predators can become part of this calculated plan. When intelligence reaches its peak, who truly commands the ocean? Across the vast ocean, orcas stand as a dominant symbol of intelligence and strength. They live within tightly bonded matriarchal families where hunting skills are passed down through generations. A large brain and a complex communication system allow the entire pod to coordinate with remarkable efficiency. From icy polar waters to tropical seas, this apex predator adapts to a wide range of environments. Through discipline and group strategy, they remain among the most capable hunters in the ocean. Beneath the ocean, dolphins are exceptional swimmers with impressive speed and a highly refined navigation system. They can reach speeds of nearly 35 miles per hour and maintain a steady rhythm over long distances. Coordination within the pod allows them to avoid danger and locate food efficiently. But in the open sea, that advantage is not always enough. At the edge of the gathering, black and white forms slice across the surface, signaling the arrival of a pod of orcas. Under the guidance of an experienced matriarch, the hunters spread into a wide arc formation. Another group dives quietly below, moving ahead to contain the target within shifting pressure lines. To track position, several individuals launch nearly 20 feet into the air, striking the surface to disrupt the opposing sonar field. Once a single target becomes separated from the group, the pace immediately intensifies. The dolphin responds with sharp 90-degree turns, attempting to break the approach path. However, the orcas maintain controlled distance, adjusting their positions with each movement. A powerful surge from below disrupts the dolphin's balance in an instant. As the surface grows calm again, another lesson of the wild is carried forward. The encounter closes as a clear reminder. In the struggle for survival, success belongs to those who control space and timing. Gray whales are vast ocean travelers, with individuals reaching around 80,000 pounds. With their immense size and thick, resilient skin, they are nearly untouchable along long migration routes. Yet this remarkable journey is always shadowed by an unseen pressure known as the orca. The pod does not focus on the fully grown giant, but on the young calves moving alongside their mothers. When danger appears, the mother gray whale quickly positions her calf beneath her large pectoral fin, guiding it toward shallow waters to form a living shield. The rhythm of survival tightens as the orca pod spreads in multiple directions, weaving through blind spots at speeds approaching 30 miles per hour. They move in cycles of approach and retreat, maintaining steady pressure to wear down the endurance of the pair. As the distance begins to stretch, the balance shifts beneath the surface. Orcas continuously adjust their positions, taking turns pressing from above to restrict the calf's movement at the surface. The prolonged struggle can last for hours, gradually reducing the calf's strength as the pod maintains control of space. The encounter ends in quiet stillness as the calf falls out of the protective formation. Even a powerful bond between mother and young must yield to the natural order, shaped by a single moment of lost awareness in the rhythm of survival. Beneath cold gray waters, a humpback whale mother weighing around 80,000 pounds raises her 16-foot pectoral fins like a steady shield to protect her calf. The newborn, measuring about 16 feet, carries a clear biological limit. It must surface frequently to breathe. Orcas do not approach with recklessness. They observe from a distance and wait for the moment when the mother and calf move into open water. The pod quickly divides roles, with one group trailing behind to apply pressure, while another moves along the flank to force the mother to keep changing direction. Each time the mother turns to shield her calf, the orcas reposition, extending the approach rather than confronting directly. This sustained rotation gradually reduces the humpback's physical advantage over time. What stands out is the contrast in size and strategy. The mother relies on strength, endurance, and protective instinct. The orcas rely on coordination, discipline, and precise timing. The encounter reflects a familiar reality in nature. Size can offer an advantage, but strategy ultimately determines control of the ocean's rhythm. In cold and deep waters, stillness exists only at the surface. Here, the great white shark has long been seen as a symbol of ocean power. With a body reaching around 18 feet and multiple rows of triangular teeth, it stands among the most formidable hunters. Even a slow glide can be enough to redirect its target. Yet that strength has its limits. Great white sharks often hunt alone, lacking coordination in more complex encounters. In contrast, orcas move in groups, detecting from a distance through sound and approaching in synchronized patterns. That difference creates a clear advantage. Weighing up to around 12,000 pounds, the orca closes in with calculated precision. A key individual delivers a powerful tail sweep, generating force that briefly disrupts the shark's balance. The speed of contact rises at just the right moment, then is controlled to maintain dominance. When turned upside down, the shark enters a temporary state of stillness known as tonic immobility. In those critical moments, the balance begins to shift. The orca holds position briefly, takes advantage of the critical moment, then moves away. Beneath the surface, the advantage belongs to the one that controls timing and rhythm. The orca is not only powerful, but also understands how to turn strategy into results. Deep within the ocean, Weddell seals are highly adapted residents, with streamlined bodies and thick layers of blubber that help them endure polar cold. An adult can weigh around 900 pounds, enough to retain heat in freezing conditions. When resting, they often choose drifting ice floes, separated from the movements below the icy water. But that sense of safety is only temporary. From beneath the surface, a pod of orcas begins to approach in perfect synchronization. They align side by side, maintaining equal speed before accelerating together near the surface. A powerful, coordinated tail strike lifts a mass of water nearly 5 feet high, crashing into the ice and causing it to shift violently. The seal quickly loses balance as its resting platform tilts toward the threat. If the first wave is not effective, the orcas repeat the tactic with greater precision. They adjust distance and angle, refining each attempt to overcome the seal's efforts to hold position. Once the seal slips into the water, control of the situation shifts entirely to the hunters waiting below. This method, known as wave washing, is not a simple instinct. Young orcas remain with the pod for 3 to 5 years, learning how to read waves, divide roles, and build knowledge across generations. Soon, the polar surface returns to its natural calm. In this frozen boundary, the highest level of adaptation belongs not to raw strength, but to the intelligence of the group. Along the sunlit waters of Patagonia, the boundary of survival is measured in just a few feet of shallow shoreline. Sea lions move along the edge of the sand, staying about 15 feet from what they consider a safe zone. Here, they rely on shallow depth to avoid threats from the open ocean. But for orcas, that distance has never been a true limit. As the tide rises, the pod begins to adjust positions offshore. One individual accelerates to nearly 30 miles per hour, using the force of incoming waves to surge onto the beach. The moment of contact happens in an instant, enough to disrupt the balance of the target. Immediately after, the orca turns and slides back into deeper water before the wave retreats. In deeper areas, they face a different kind of challenge. Stingrays carry a barbed tail capable of effective defense. The orcas do not rush in, instead keeping distance to observe movement patterns. They select the right angle of approach, where the target has limited time to respond. A precise push leaves the stingray briefly disoriented. The orca does not need to increase pressure, only to hold position and control the surrounding space. With the success rate exceeding 80% in many conditions, orcas maintain their status as some of the most efficient hunters in the ocean. A mistimed charge causes the king of the plains to lose its familiar dominance. In the animal world, the lion stands as a powerful predator, but it is never absolute. A single shift in direction from the prey is enough to throw off the closing approach. Even against other predators, a small mistake can push the lion into a vulnerable position. It is the moment when the entire savannah witnesses the first cracks in power. The lion is a large social cat, drawing strength from muscle and discipline. An adult male weighs around 400 pounds, with its mane reflecting health and status. Across the African savanna, they often hunt at dawn, dusk, or during the night. Lionesses lead the rhythm of the hunt, while males protect the territory. For lions, power always comes with the responsibility of guiding the pride through the challenges of survival. The throne of the king of the savannah has never been a peaceful privilege. It is a constant effort to defend territory under pressure. To maintain a range of more than 40 square miles, the lion must patrol continuously and face a highly organized rival, the spotted hyena clan. At midday on the grasslands, the encounter begins when a young male lion on patrol crosses paths with a large group of hyenas. Nearly 80 individuals gather, forming a curved formation and gradually closing the distance. This long-standing rival applies constant pressure, causing the solitary lion to lose energy over time. The situation only settles when it focuses its strength in one direction, creates an opening, and moves out of the encirclement. The pressure grows even greater when a lioness must defend a food source. Weighing around 140 pounds and equipped with powerful jaws, the hyenas do not rush in directly. They take turns applying pressure from multiple angles, forcing the lioness to keep turning to maintain space. Their goal is to push her away from the portion of food they aim to claim. In many cases, the lioness chooses to leave the food behind and move away to stay safe. The encounter ends, returning a solemn stillness to the sunlit savannah. At this boundary, the lion's power is always tested by awareness, endurance, and the ability to choose the right moment. In the African wilderness, size does not always determine everything, but for the hippopotamus, it is a major advantage. An adult can weigh over 4,000 pounds, with thick skin, extremely powerful jaws, and tusk-like teeth exceeding 1 foot in length. On calm water, that massive body creates a presence strong enough to make many predators keep their distance. Although not a pursuit hunter, the hippopotamus is well known for its ability to defend itself and protect its space. When lions swim across a river or move too close to its territory, the balance quickly shifts. A sudden surge from the water can create enough pressure to force an intruder to change direction and return to shore. When the dry season arrives, falling water levels push hippos out of their familiar refuge. On land, they are far more agile than their heavy appearance suggests. If a lion approaches too closely, the hippo can accelerate to around 20 miles per hour, using its mass and forward pressure to drive the opponent back. Even when facing a group of lions, an adult hippo can stand between danger and its young. Its immense body and determined advances help create space and gradually guide a path back to safer water. That encounter serves as a reminder. Around a hippopotamus, a single mistimed approach can carry significant risk. On the African savannah, African wild dogs do not rely on muscle, but on speed, discipline, and nearly seamless coordination. An adult weighs only about 50 pounds, yet in a pack of around 20, they become one of the most unpredictable opponents for lions. Encounters often arise around a food source or near areas where the pack is raising young. When a lioness moves in, the pack immediately spreads out, then closes in with crossing runs. They avoid direct confrontation, taking turns applying pressure from multiple directions. This forces the lion to keep turning and lose its rhythm of control. On open ground, a speed of about 44 miles per hour becomes their greatest advantage. They stretch the distance, then return to apply pressure again. After a missed grab by the lion, the pack shifts like a spring, quickly resetting a safe distance in an instant. Their response does not come from weight, but from a pack instinct refined through coordination. Across the African savanna, antelopes are not just a food source, but formidable defenders. With lions, these are not animals that simply flee when pressured. Many species carry sharp horns, solid builds, and strong distance control. As a result, every charge carries the risk of a counter-response. Encounters with the gemsbok often unfold on dry ground, where lions use vegetation to close the gap. But when pressed too closely, the gemsbok lowers its head and turns its horns, measuring around 47 inches, into a barrier that is difficult to overcome. A single pause in front of those pointed tips is enough to disrupt the element of surprise. From an initial ambush advantage, the lion quickly pulls back to a safer distance. With the wildebeest, resistance comes from body mass, momentum, and the presence of the herd. An adult can weigh close to 600 pounds, with a heavy front build and enough force to make a predator hesitate. When the lion attempts to isolate a target from the edge, the animal turns and breaks the rhythm of the pursuit. In that moment, the lion's speed advantage begins to fade. In dense brush, the greater kudu relies on sharp turns and agile escapes. Its long legs and sudden changes in direction are enough to disrupt the lion's approach. Even the sable antelope can respond effectively if approached from the wrong angle. A single misjudgment in position can force the predator to withdraw. In the wild, true strength lies not only in the first charge, but in the ability to read the limits of an opponent. The zebra is a grazing animal with a striking striped coat. Yet beneath that appearance lies the strength of a resilient fighter. With a body weight of around 770 pounds and spring-like legs, the zebra holds a burst of power that makes any predator cautious. The encounter intensifies when a lioness suddenly accelerates and leaps onto the side of an adult. Instead of collapsing under the pressure, the zebra braces its balance and pivots sharply on sloped ground. The sudden shift in direction disrupts the predator's momentum in an instant. At that moment, the zebra drives both hind legs with force, prompting the lioness to release and step back to regain control. In another situation, the entire savanna shifts with the rhythm of pounding hooves, rising dust, and a tightening formation as zebras group together for protection. The lion does not target the strongest individual. It patiently looks for a missed step, a moment of separation, or a slower young animal within the dust. Even so, when pressed too closely, some zebras can respond with a well-timed bite to create space. For lions, opportunity is never guaranteed, with only about 25% of hunts leading to a result. On the sunlit savanna, failure is not an end. It is the way nature sharpens survival instincts through incomplete attempts. Among big cats, the lion stands out for its social lifestyle. Yet behind that unity lies competition over territory, reproduction, and rank. As a result, members of the same species can be both allies and significant threats. Nomadic male lions often form coalitions before challenging those that control a pride. Their strength in numbers allows them to apply pressure, separate rivals, and choose the right moment to move in. Roars, upright posture, and a full mane help signal strength. Encounters often end when the resident group withdraws, allowing a new coalition to take over the territory. After a takeover, dependent cubs may face serious risk from incoming males. This behavior allows females to return to a reproductive cycle sooner, increasing the chance of passing on the genes of the new group. Lionesses may work together to defend or move their young away from unfamiliar males. Even so, outcomes depend on numbers, terrain, and relative strength. Lionesses also help protect the living area from outsiders. They can gather, move in from multiple directions, and push intruders out of key resources. Control by a male coalition often lasts only a few years, though the exact period varies across populations. On the savanna, today's winner can be replaced tomorrow as the cycle of competition begins again. From heights that nearly touch the clouds, the eagle dives with the authority of a sky-dominating predator. On the ground below, a single moment of delay can place any target in a vulnerable position. Its extraordinary vision allows it to lock onto a target before the other animal even senses the approaching presence. What makes the eagle one of the most formidable aerial predators in the wild? Few birds can turn the sky into a domain of their own, quite like the eagle. More than 60 species are found across high mountains, dense forests, and vast lakes and coastlines. From above, it fixes its gaze on a target with remarkable precision, waiting for the right moment to descend. Its wings press through the air, talons extend, and speed becomes the defining advantage of a ruler of the skies. For this reason, the eagle is not only a symbol of strength, but also a vital link in maintaining the balance of nature. Within the dense green layers of the South American rainforest, the harpy eagle does not need open skies to assert its dominance. It becomes a shadow of the canopy, where light is filtered through leaves, and every tree trunk forms a natural barrier. With talons reaching up to 5 inches in length, it is built for hunting in tight spaces. Its first rivals are monkeys, masters of movement through branches that remain constantly alert while foraging. With a shorter, rounded wingspan of about 6.5 feet, the harpy eagle moves through multiple canopy layers with powerful yet controlled wing beats. It follows the cover of foliage, holds just enough distance, then suddenly accelerates. The approach is brief and precise, leaving little time for the target to react or move away from the branch. But the harpy eagle does not focus on monkeys alone. It also watches for tree-dwelling animals, or a sloth clinging quietly among high branches. These animals rely not on speed, but on blending into the forest itself. The eagle must read the openings in the leaves, choose the right angle, and act at the exact moment. Here, power is not defined by noise, but by silence before the decisive moment. And with young waiting in the nest, each successful hunt becomes part of the cycle that sustains life within the rainforest. The sky does not only grant the eagle the freedom of flight, it also challenges it with the unforgiving limits of gravity. To hold its place as a ruler, it must learn to take on formidable targets. Mountain goats are masters of the cliffs. Their split hooves allow them to grip ledges only a few inches wide. With strong bodies often weighing over 60 pounds, more than 5 times the weight of an eagle, fully grown individuals are rarely easy targets. Yet in rugged terrain, those that become separated from the group create rare openings for an aerial hunter to use. A single miscalculated descent can become a costly lesson. When an eagle targets an adult goat along a steep slope, speed and incline can quickly turn advantage into risk. An approach that is too abrupt may cause its wings to strike the terrain, forcing it to lose control of its angle and break away. As late afternoon settles over the mountainside, the herd begins to regroup after a day of feeding. This time, the eagle does not rely on strength alone. With a dive exceeding about 150 miles per hour, it uses gravity along the edge of the cliffs to place the target at a disadvantage. Just a few seconds are enough to turn the terrain into an ally. The intelligence to harness the forces of nature for survival becomes an unseen crown, affirming the enduring position of a true highland ruler. Across dry grasslands, one of the greatest sources of unease often comes from creatures without legs. Their defense lies within the mouth, neurotoxic venom that causes many predators to keep their distance. But for the brown snake eagle, That risk does not disappear. It is managed through distance, speed, and timing. This eagle hunts a wide range of snakes, from puff adders and boomslangs to cobras and black mambas. Some of these encounters turn every approach into a test of survival. Its advantage is not complete immunity, but a body adapted to reduce risk, dense feathering around the legs, and tough scales that help limit exposure during sudden reactions. On land, the brown snake eagle often watches from a high perch or an open rise, waiting for a snake to leave cover. Along the coastal regions of Malaysia, the rhythm changes. Sea snakes, often reaching around 5 feet in length, surface briefly to breathe or rest on warm rocks. In those short moments, a sea eagle can use its aerial advantage to move in. In the natural world, success does not belong to the most reckless, but to those who understand the exact moment to act. Across cold grasslands and the edges of rocky mountains, the eagle does not limit itself to small prey. At times, it faces ground-based rivals, where territory, food, and instinct intersect. With a wingspan exceeding about 7 feet, it turns the sky into a vantage point, waiting for the right moment to move in. Wolves stand out for endurance, strength, and the ability to travel for miles across open terrain. But when a lone individual becomes exposed in open space, that advantage can fade within seconds. The eagle uses that brief moment to descend from behind, relying on speed and an estimated grip force of around 500 pounds in its talons to create sudden pressure. With a coyote, the situation becomes more tense around a recently claimed meal. This adaptable predator does not easily give up a meal. It pivots quickly, displays a powerful jaw, and reacts decisively when the eagle comes too close. Against an opponent ready to respond, the eagle often lifts back into the air, keeping its wings clear of danger. It is this respect for distance that allows each predator to maintain its place within the shared sky of survival. In Kasanka, Zambia, the fruiting season turns the forest into a living storm. More than 10 million fruit bats fill the canopy, creating a constant rush of wings and the heavy scent of ripe fruit in the air. For the crowned eagle, this is not just a time of abundance, it is a critical moment for the young waiting high in the nest. As dusk settles, the bats begin to leave their roost in the swamp forest. They can travel up to about 55 miles in a single night in search of food. But before darkness fully covers the canopy, the mother eagle is already in position. It does not rush into the chaos. It waits along the edge of the swarm, where a single misstep can briefly expose an individual. Then an opening appears. The crowned eagle lowers its altitude, gliding just above the leaves and compressing the hunt into a few intense seconds. In the tight forest, a slight error in angle can cost the opportunity. But this time, the timing is right. It breaks away from the swirling mass of bats and returns to the nest with food. In the forests of Africa, survival belongs to those who wait for the right moment. On open grasslands, the hare is a small target, but never an easy one to approach. It survives through speed, constant awareness, and sudden changes in direction. When it senses danger, it can accelerate to around 40 miles per hour, turning a few brief seconds into a high-risk chase. For the golden eagle, the hare is an important source of energy across many habitats. In some breeding season studies, black-tailed jackrabbits make up a large portion of its diet, highlighting their role in sustaining this aerial predator. But high value does not mean an easy hunt. Each descent requires careful judgment of wind direction, distance, and the prey's zigzag path. In Idaho, the golden eagle's success rate is only about 20%, showing that every success demands patience. From the grasslands of North America to the dry heat of Africa, the eagle's challenges shift with each type of prey. Wild boars are known for their resilience, equipped with sharp tusks that cause many predators to stay cautious. For this reason, the martial eagle rarely engages directly. Opportunities often come from a young individual separated from the group, or one that briefly slows while crossing open ground. From above, the eagle reads movement before acting. It does not prevail through strength alone, but through timing, angle, and surprise. On the grasslands, every hunt becomes a test between the prey's speed and the predator's intelligence. The frozen landscape leaves no room for slowness or prolonged hesitation. The polar bear exists in a harsh world, guided by finely honed instincts. Each encounter reveals the true cost of survival in the far north. That very harshness shapes one of the most iconic predators on the planet. If you enjoy these stories, make sure you like and subscribe to continue exploring the dramatic journeys of survival in nature.